Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Lucy McBath up. She's the mother of Jordan Davis and a national spokesperson for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And we look forward to your testimony.
Acting Chair and the distinguished committee members for giving me just a few moments of your time. My name is Lucia, or Lucy McBath. I'm the mother of Jordan Davis, who was shot to death in a convenience store parking lot in what the country has deemed the loud music case because a racist thought he was playing his car stereo too loud. Within a matter of 3.5 minutes, my life has been forever changed. More than 3 years have passed since Jordan was taken from me, but as his mother, the pain never really goes away, and I'm without him every birthday, holiday, and every time I see a young black man's face. But this isn't an issue that's just facing black mothers, although it happens to women who look like me far too often. This is an American crisis and a public safety issue. I had the talk with Jordan. I told him to be mindful of his surroundings. I schooled him on racism. I thought I did everything right, even sending him to live with his father in Florida as I faced my second bout of breast cancer. But as we all know, no one is immune. It doesn't matter if you're in school, in the movies, walking home from the corner store, or even in the house of God. However, unlike other epidemics, this is one where a solution is well within our grasp. I believe we all have a responsibility to prevent as many of these fatalities as possible. And a common sense place to start that we should all be able to agree on is keeping guns out of the hands of dangerous individuals and the mentally ill who shouldn't obviously have them in the first place. That's why I was so proud to stand behind President Obama when he announced new executive actions aimed at narrowing the loopholes in our laws that make it easy for dangerous people to get their hands on guns. These measures were important, but we need congressional action to permanently and comprehensively close the loopholes in our laws. To do that, we need all of our political leaders to lead. And let me be blunt, it needs to be our first priority as a party, because everything else we Democrats care about, like health care and Social Security and voting rights, are moot points if we cannot keep our children safe. Now, Donald Trump and the Republicans like to claim that Democrats are trying to repeal the Second Amendment. Let's be clear. No one is proposing that. I repeat, no one is proposing that. We know how to protect the rights of responsible gun owners while keeping guns out of the hands of domestic abusers, violent criminals, and people with severe mental illness. And the vast majority of Americans think that it's time for us to act. They support comprehensive background checks. Even 82% of gun owners in this country are in favor of background checks for all gun sales. Law enforcement officials across the country support them too. And when so many of our kids are living in fear and dying in the streets every day, we simply cannot ignore our moral responsibility to save lives. That's why I believe that we need to repeal PLACA, a law that continues to grant irresponsible gun manufacturers and dealers sweeping immunity from lawsuits, even as they're making money hand over fist. This is a protection that almost no other industry in America enjoys. It makes no sense that it's easier to sue the maker of a toy gun than a real one. We need to build on President Obama's executive actions and permanently close the loopholes that still allow dangerous people to buy firearms at gun shows and on the internet. And we need to close the Charleston loophole. Today, a convicted felon or someone with a dangerous mental illness can walk into a gun store, and if their background check is not completed within 3 days, they can still be sold a firearm. Because of this loophole, in the last 5 years, gun dealers have proceeded with more than 15,000 sales to prohibited people because their background check could not be completed within the 3-day period. That includes the gun that was sold to the madman that murdered 9 God-fearing parishioners at Mother Emanuel Church. I remember what it felt like when I heard that news. And watching the reactions of the family members in Charleston, so much of my own anguish came rushing back. And I know many Americans feel frustrated and powerless to do anything about it. We attend prayer vigils and offer kind words and thoughts, and that is not enough. But what I have discovered, and what all the mothers of the movement have proven, is that collectively we can use our voices. Voices may not be louder than gunshots, but they can be just as powerful. People just need to know the power that they hold. This is a problem that has ravaged an entire generation of kids. So what is it that we have to do? We have to begin to have a renewed sense of passion and engagement. For too long, we've let the NRA and gun lobby stand unanswered. Those days are over. We are all in this country together. That means we're supposed to be our brother and our sister's keeper. We have the chance to empower ourselves, and I'm living proof that anyone can make a difference. If Jordan was alive, he would be wrapping up his junior year in college, getting ready to vote in his very first presidential election. I do this work because it's what Jordan would expect me to do. I do this because the world needs to remember, and every child should know, that all lives do matter. Every child in America, whatever the color of their skin, and whatever zip code they live in, deserves to have that chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer?
Thank you, Ms. McBath. McBath, right? This isn't my microphone.
No,
it's
that's
yours.
yours.
Okay. Oh, it's mine. Okay. I don't think any of us don't know someone who has, or know someone who knows someone who has been shot or murdered, with a gun. I think it's disgusting that we in this country have such lax gun control. I think that the Republican Party is really remiss in setting out boundaries, because I do believe that you're absolutely correct. Not just keeping the guns out of the hands of mentally ill people and criminals, but I really don't personally think anyone should have a gun. I mean, that's just my own, philosophy. Nothing is ever solved, when you have a gun in your hand, except, the worst possible scenario. How do you propose we stop this epidemic, because it's getting worse and worse?
Well, of course we know that taking all the guns off the street is literally impossible. And we do know that there are a lot of law-abiding gun owners, gun enthusiasts, and hunters, and those definitely are not the ones that we're concerned about. But what we have to do is, with the existing legislation, the laws as they are, the gun culture, we have to enact some common sense measures that do not infringe upon individuals' Second Amendment rights. The Second Amendment right to bear arms. However, the NRA gun lobby of today has the entire country believing that means that, as vigilantes, they can bear arms on the street and decide for themselves how they want to take care of any conflict without any reasonable conflict resolution. Which, of course, we know that we have a well-formed militia, which is our National Guard, which actually takes care of, the Second Amendment. But what we have to do is make sure that with the existing gun culture, which becomes more and more expansive all the time, the loosening of the gun laws, our legislators have been very inactive and not willing to to put some safety measures in our existing gun laws. We have to address that. You can be a law-abiding gun owner in this country, and definitely those are the ones that we're not dealing with. But the individuals in the country that want to use their guns any way that they want to, with immunity and not having to suffer any repercussions of their actions when they're using their guns in a criminal way, they have to be dealt with. So if our legislators are willing to not be beholden to the NRA gun lobby, if we can take the money out of the pockets of a lot of our legislators, because the NRA gun lobby is funding a lot of what's happening in the country, then we will be able to have a platform, a viable platform that really recognizes the need to put some common sense safety measures in our existing gun laws, keeping people safe so that they do not have to be afraid to walk in their own communities.
Dr. West, and I just to try to get more questions in, I'd like to just reemphasize Reverend Daughtry's comment earlier, which is that every question has a question mark. So.
Oh, yeah, no, indeed. I just want to salute your strength and your fire and your eloquence and your dignity. But I was going to raise a question about our corrupt campaign finance system and the way in which the NRA as lobby is able to gain a certain kind of disproportionate amount of influence over our politicians. I put that euphemistically, because it's really legalized bribery in a certain sense. How do you deal with that connection of wanting to highlight the kind of gun control laws that we need, and yet also this flow of money from this very powerful lobby that's got big money?
Well, as the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And so the more that we're able to expose what the NRA gun lobbies continue to do within the last 25, 30 years, that if we give that information to the people, if we let people understand the voting records of the gun measures of the legislators and make that information available to them, then they're able to go to the polls and make wiser decisions. If we do not give them that information, if we do not expose what's happening with the NRA gun lobby, then of course, common people on the street, individuals, they don't know what's happening. So give them the information they need, give them the resources they need to make sound and wise decisions when they go to the polls.
Yes,
Give them the
yes.
opportunity to vote out of office those legislators that are passing these heinous laws.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. We're grateful.